Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we are going to be doing another ship breakdown for Star Wars Armada. It is the Acclamator Class Assault Ship, and we're going to be talking about this beloved and iconic ship from the Clone Wars and all the ways that you can use it in Star Wars Armada. If you guys are new here to the channel, we have lots of links in the description below. I'd love to have you join our Discord. Keep the discussion going there. Also, we are still giving away a lightsaber. All you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. I'd love to hear some of your favorite ships from the Clone Wars. We are going to be talking about this particular ship, different titles for it, the two different versions of it, how you can build it out, how you can use it. It is a very versatile ship that happens to excel in different things depending on which version you take. And it's definitely one of my favorite ships for the Republic. I think it's such a great ship at such a decent cost. It is a medium-based ship and has a lot of shields in the front, kind of reminds a lot of people of the Victory class Star Destroyer in some ways, in that it's a similar in that size profile, still that triangular wedge shape. In the Clone Wars, we only really saw this one as a troop carrier. We saw this one landing a lot of times, landing troops and getting them on the ground, but we don't really see this one doing too much space combat. Now, it can be built either way. With its ample space, it provides great use as a squadron carrier or also as a potentially battleship or flagship with its defensive retrofit available for one of the versions. We're going to look at both of the versions in more detail, but this is a 3-command medium ship. So again, a lot like a Victory Star Destroyer, a lot like an Assault Frigate Mark II. It has 3 squadron and 4 engineering for both versions of it. It's going to come with a brace and a redirect, but also the amazing salvo token that is allowing you to return fire once fired upon. It also has a maximum speed of 3, which is excellent. However, its maneuverability is not very good. So if you're going really fast, I hope you want to go in a straight line or have navigation commands planned. It has 4 shields in the front, 2 shields everywhere else, so not super weak on the other sides, but also not super strong. It's kind of this is a ship that you want to have pointed towards the enemy, and in just about any configuration, whether you're shooting out of your front arc or defending with your front arc. Your front arc is definitely your strongest arc, and that's where you want to be pointed right directly towards the enemy where you're going to shoot or be shot from. Now, the 2 versions of this, Acclamator 1 and Acclamator 2, we're going to talk about those in more detail, but both have everything that we just talked about. Also, the same base for the most part. We're going to be looking at a pretty symmetric base, a larger front arc with still moderately large side arcs. So it's a good sized front arc, but it's not that wide. It's not going to hit everything. So you are going to really, I think navigation is going to be an important one for this one to make sure that you do get who you need in the front arc. If you are able to double arc too, that's not bad because the side arcs do see a decent amount of dice. So next thing I want to do is just talk about the individual ships. We'll talk about the Acclamator 1 first and what makes this one specific, and then we'll move on to the Acclamator 2. So the Acclamator 1 is got double black flak. So it's got 2 anti-squadron dice, both black. So it's going to do a lot of flak damage out on nearby enemy fighters. We have 3 red in the front, 2 black in the front, so it's, again, similar but not the same as the Victory one. A little bit less black dice than we've seen elsewhere. But still, it's 5 total dice out of the front arc, so if it can get close to you, it can put a lot of damage out there. It has 2 red on the sides and a single black on the sides and a red and a black in the rear. Now, that's kind of a weaker rear arc for salvos purposes, so it might not be the strongest salvo attacks, especially if your attacker is beyond close range, but it's all right because it at least has 2 dice there. Now, for upgrades, of course, we have Officer, and we do have a Weapons team, so if you want to do something like Gunnery team, you can do that, but this version is better suited to be a carrier because of the 2 offensive retrofits, and usually your Weapons team will be something a little bit more carrier-specific. Also, you do have a Ordnance and a Turbo Laser upgrades to help with your black and red dice specifically. So you're going to have options to make this a little bit of everything, right? It can be a little bit firepower, it can be a little bit engineering, it can be sustainable with that 4 engineering value. It doesn't have a defensive retrofit, so this version may not be your flagship, but it's at least with a 7 hull, it's a sustainable carrier. Moving up to the Acclamator 2, we're going to notice a bunch of changes. One of the most notable changes is that we gain an entire die in the front arc. So we're going to be moving up to 6 dice in the front arc. Now, of course, our price does go up from 66 up to 71 points on the Acclamator 2. So we're going to pay a little bit more for this one. But we're gaining dice, and that's a good thing. We also upgraded from a black die to a blue die in the rear arc, which means that this salvo will be a little bit more effective and have a little more range on the Acclamator 2. Now, for our anti-squadron is going to upgrade a little bit from 2 black to a black and a blue, which gives it a little bit more range, but maybe a little bit less consistency. But sometimes range is certainly more important, especially when considering for flak attacks. Upgrades are going to change a little bit as well. We're still going to have an officer and a weapons team, and we're still going to have a turbo laser and an ordnance. But instead of our 2 offensive retrofits, we're going to lose both of those and only gain 1 defensive retrofit in the meantime. So these 2 different versions of the ships are very, very different in that while this one is more expensive and you're gaining a die, you're also losing 1 net total upgrade slot, which means this one might be built a little bit more singularly focused. Usually an Acclamator 2 is not often built as a carrier because it loses 2 carrier-specific upgrades but gains different upgrades. So this one is probably better suited to be a flagship. This is, and sometimes I'll talk about which commanders these work pretty well with, and generally any of the squadron-based commanders will work really well on a fleet that has an Acclamator 1. You can put any commander on an Acclamator 2. It makes for a decent flagship, especially if you do not have a Venator in your fleet. This, of course, the Acclamator does come in the Republic starter, and that's the only way to get it as of right now, but it's a good ship, and I can see a lot of people potentially using more than one of them. Unfortunately, to do that, you'll have to buy more than 1 starter. There are 2 titles available for the Acclamator. We've got the Implacable at 4 points. This is an exhaustible upgrade. It says, before a friendly ship or squadron at distance 1 to 2 suffers damage from an attack, you may exhaust this card and spend up to 2 shields from your front hull zone to reduce the total damage by that amount. Now, this is a support title, but also it's a squadron title. They're both squadron-based titles, but Implacable has the double duty of working for squadrons or working for allied ships. I happen to really like both of these titles, but Implacable is a interesting one in that you really need to make sure you're doing some engineering commands or have potentially all shields to maximum in your build because you're going to be spending shields off of your front hull zone. And it's important to know that once your front hull zone shields are gone, you can no longer use this. You have to have shields on the front hull zone. And so if you're not being shot and you're still spending those, your shields are going to be going elsewhere. But you're not going to be able to like just redirect and use that. So really make sure you're doing some engineering. Make sure you're replenishing your front shields. I once used this and mistakenly read the card and thought I could just spend shields from anywhere. And no, they have to be on the front. Now you do have 4 in the front with whichever version you're using, so that's pretty cool. But again, you use this twice, your front shields are gone, even if you're not being shot at. Now, if you are being shot at also, then you might not use this one at all. So, think very carefully about what you spend shields on towards saving. And again, you can only also exhaust it and use it once per turn. So if you're trying to protect a squadron or another ship, and they're getting shot multiple times, you only be able to do this once each turn. Now, the Navuta B at 5 points is probably the more popular title, especially for when this ship is functioning as a carrier with lots of V-19s. It's a very, very strong title. It says, for a squadron command, each non-unique squadron that you activate gains Swarm until the end of its activation. Each squadron with Swarm that you activate may re-roll 1 die while attacking a ship. Now, this is really good for V-19s. They have a black die in their armament for attacking ships. They work well with Swarm in this case, but they're also going to be able to re-roll that die when attacking a ship, and that's a pretty good thing because black dice have a 6 out of 8 chance of getting damaged, and that's awesome. And I mean, the V-19s already have Swarm anyway, but it's really about the reroll when attacking a ship, right? And I feel like this card is going to get better over time if if we see more squadrons come out. I don't know if that'll happen this year or next year, or you know what the plans are for more squadron packs for the Clone Wars. But there's definitely room for more squadron packs for the Clone Wars, and this is a title that's only going to get better and better because again, all of your non-uniques are going to gain swarm. So your Arc 170s are going to gain swarm. Your B-wings will gain swarm. Your Delta 7s. I mean, I don't know if you're going to ever run generic Delta 7s. I don't really see that happening. But the V19s really like this one to get that reroll when attacking a ship. Again, it's good for just about anybody, but V19s are also the cheapest. And, well, maybe not the cheapest, but they're pretty cheap, and you can do a lot with it. I particularly like V19s with this one for a number of other reasons as well, which I'll go into in just a little bit. So I want to talk about some builds. In this case, the Acclamator 1 class assault ship, one build for the Acclamator 1 is just kind of as a pure carrier. So, you know, if you didn't want to totally max it out and you just want to put a few things on there, which is often good, you know, taking advantage of its carrier-specific upgrades, this one makes for a fantastic carrier. Between Expert Hangar Bay and Boosted Comms, we now have Squadron Value of 4, and we can reach at long range. We throw flight controllers on there. Everybody gets an extra die on top of all of that. And, of course, that will work pretty well with Navuta B also, but I have some other stuff in line for a Navuta B build, but this would be a great one just to toss Navuta B on also, so keep that in mind. And then for an Acclamator 2 build, one of my favorite ways to run an Acclamator 2 is with swivel mount batteries. Swivel mount batteries is just going to be amazing, especially if you're keeping that front arc pointed on the enemies. You're going to be able to take your black die from the side, throw it to the front, and then toss on Ordnance Experts and Assault Proton Torpedoes. If you got a Concentrate Fire planned, all of a sudden, now you're rolling, you know, with 3 red and 2 black dice. If you got Concentrate Fire at long range, gets re-roll both of the black dice, searching for that crit, and then force a face up when the enemy did not see that coming. It makes for a very, very potent front arc. And I love that about this ship, and that it can be a great carrier or a great damage dealing ship. You can do a lot with it, and I really enjoy that. Now, for some title specific stuff, if we got the Navuta B here, we maybe want to do a couple of different things. You know, and I use just about all the upgrade slots here. I had some fun with it. Flight Commander is just going to be a great one. In a lot of cases, it's just, you know, if you're too far out of range, you can just do your squadron command after you move if you want to hit the maximum number. And that's a good option for, like, any time that maybe you're not running. You know, if you're not running like boosted comms and expanded hangar bays, Flight Commander can be like, oh, I can't reach everybody. Hold on, let me do it after I move. Then I can reach people. It gives you a lot of flexibility there. Ruthless Strategists is just, you know, if you're getting a lot of people near you, if you're keeping the squadrons in, you could do that. You probably wouldn't always do that, but that's an interesting option. Reserve Hangar Decks is a really great one on here. Reserve Hangar Decks is basically going to get you a V19 back for only 3 points. I mean, that's really golden, and I like that. And if you're running multiple ships, you know, if you're running a lot of V19s, again, you can gain those back. And the cool thing, what works so well about Reserve Hangar Decks too, is that the V19s already have swarm built in, so you don't have to rely on Navuta B activating them. They can die, you know, before you activate, or even if, you know, on a different turn or something like that. This also allows you to put the newer upgrade hyperspace rings out there. If you're running a heavy squadron build, maybe you want some of your Arc 170s to start a little bit farther out because they're only speed 2. It's a great option for hyperspace rings. Ordnance Pods can work on here. Again, if you're really going like hard anti-squadron, Ruthless Strategists and Ordnance Pods can all really work together to really punish any enemy squadron force that you end up within black dice range of. Again, that's kind of more of a niche build. You might not always do that, but that's some cool options. I think Turbo Laser Tower is just good all around. It also fits the whole let's punish enemy squadrons idea as well. So this is kind of 2 different Navuta Bs, because you could always go back to like this classic flight controllers, boosted comms, expanded hangar bay option for Navuta B as well. Both of those are good. All right, let's move on to an Implacable build. This one is a little bit more likely to be maybe a flagship, but that also has some gunnery team power. Now, I didn't put the swivel mounts on this one, just to change things up a little bit. So we do have Implacable there. It can definitely help other people nearby. And I think the idea here is that you want your opponent to see this maybe as a flagship, maybe as an option to like, oh, I should shoot that ship. Wait, do I really want to shoot that ship? Because they've got expert shield techs. They're going to reduce the damage. They've got electronic countermeasures. They're going to be able to brace. All right. So maybe I shouldn't shoot them at all. But if they don't, well, then you make them pay for it because you protect whoever else they do shoot. And only a range 1 to 2, so you have to be close. But that could be a fun way to do that. Again, if you're making sure you're pointed straight, let's maximize red dice instead of black dice this time with Spinal Armament and Gunnery Team. That also is going to make our rear arc just as strong as our side arcs too. So if somebody manages to get around us, we're going to be guaranteed at least 2 red dice on them. So that's cool. And then we do have external racks in case we happen to get close. Just let's toss some extra dice out there for good measure. Spinal Armaments and external racks is 3 extra dice, especially if you get them in the front at close range. And you should be able to survive long enough to do that with expert shield techs and electronic countermeasures, even if you're not using Implacable. And again, Implacable can be good for either the flagship or supporting another flagship. It works well alongside a Venator that happens to be your flagship, or if you're running 2 Acclamator 2s. That's another option too. Not everybody has only just 1. Some people have 2. I actually have 3, and just because I'm crazy like that. But yeah, so that's my look at the Acclamator. Let me know what some of your build ideas are. I'd love to hear about those down in the comment section. Also, jump in Discord. We've got links for all of the social media stuff down in the comments section or down in the See More. If you click down in the video description, we've got all kinds of links down there. You can check those out. I want to thank you guys for watching and look forward to more ship breakdowns. I'll be doing these for all of the Clone Wars ships, and I will be moving on to the Rebels and the Empire as well. So I'll be doing that all throughout 2022. Including more things like what to buy first when on a budget, and more Armada build videos, Legion stuff, X-Wing stuff, Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff, more Star Wars stuff. There's lots more Star Wars gaming news coming out, so be sure to check that out. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are absolutely amazing and help make this channel possible. If you're interested in learning more, check the Patreon link in the description below. I will talk to you guys later, and always wash your own socks, because that means you'll have something to do when you get home.